All right, so we have where the end is, where a possible beginning is, a definitive who it's for. And so here's what I also could not find as we begin to wrap all this up. I could not find anything that says the wrath and tribulation must be separate events within time. Now, because the events in the first 4 seals will also affect the lost, though it's not in the same way, it is arguable that the 7 years upon tribulation upon the Jews from Daniel could also be part of God's wrath upon the unsaved, as the authority is given by God for those things to happen. We don't know. So that all said, I will explain exactly what I believe as far as the tribulation, wrath, and rapture in light of this. And it'll build more up on more as we get more evidence, but for so far, let me, just off of what we have, let me show you where this kind of leads. The 5th seal shows we are here during the 7 years of tribulation, and the Lord mentions in Matthew 24, 29 through in Matthew 24:29, I forgot to put down the last verse. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other, which describes the events of the 6th seal. I am very seriously post-tribulation, because the 5th seal makes it very clear-cut that Christians are still going to be here. You can believe otherwise, but it's a very, very strong pointing to that. The word for delivered and saved are both from within. This does not make me post-wrath, though, as I believe the 7th trumpet is prior to the vials that complete the wrath. If you believe the traditional teaching that the wrath and tribulation are separate events, then I hold that we are post-tribulation, pre-wrath, in that we go at the start of the first vial, which does technically make us within. If you believe that the wrath begins at the seals, because that is possible, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be pre-tribulation, because the last trumpet has not sounded, and there is nothing that says we have to go at the first of the wrath. Only that we are delivered from within the wrath, and at the last trumpet, which when we get to that trumpet will be made hopefully abundantly clear, because there is very, very good evidence. Then, if you want to say that the wrath begins at the first seal, then here's what I have to say. I am post-tribulation, at the end of the 7 years for the Jews, and mid-wrath, when the trumpet finally sounds, because you put the wrath at the beginning of the seals. And there is no contradiction that I could find scripturally for mid-wrath if the wrath starts at the same time as the tribulation. The only contradiction I can find is that if you count the wrath as starting before the last trumpet, and that we go before the last trumpet, because that doesn't work. The scripture never says before the wrath, but rather it says within the wrath. And the only exact time the scriptures say, and we will get into more depth with this later, is at the last trumpet and sound of a great trumpet. So when we get to that trumpet, we're going to look more and more at this, because it gets very, very clear cut. Have a wonderful day.